It started with a pile of towels on the floor. You'd think something so small wouldn't spiral into something unforgettable. But that's the thing with people like my son and his wife, they don't need reasons. Just excuses to be cruel. I was folding those towels like I always did, even though my back ached and my fingers had been stiff for months now. My arthritis wasn't kind, but neither were they. Still, I stayed. I always stayed. They'd moved me into their home 2 years ago after my husband passed. At first it felt like love, like maybe family really does come back around. They said, "You'll never be alone, Mom." But slowly the picture cracked. The guest room turned into a utility closet. My meals shrank, my voice disappeared, and soon, the only thing they really noticed about me was when something wasn't done to their liking. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. My name is Judith. I'm 72 years old, and I hadn't been called Mom in over 8 months. That day, it was the towels. Lacey, my son's wife, came stomping into the laundry room like a storm on heels. "You missed a spot," she snapped, pointing to a smear on a pillowcase I'd already washed twice. I apologized. She sneered. "You're not here to rest. You're here to be useful." I looked at my son Tyler, who was standing just outside the room, arms folded. He didn't flinch. He didn't defend me. He just muttered, "She'll never learn unless she's reminded what she's good for." Then, without another word, he closed the door and locked it. I stood there staring at the doorknob like maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was a joke. But the joke didn't end. Not that night, not the next day. I was locked in the laundry room, no window, no heat vent, just me, a cold tile floor, a pile of half-folded laundry, and the hum of the dryer spinning like it was mocking me. They slid bread under the door the next morning. Not food, just bread. Dry, no water, no check-in, no apology. And still, I folded their clothes. Because that's what mothers do, don't they? Even when they're tossed aside, even when their children forget they're human. On the second night, I curled up in the corner on a thin rug, shaking with cold and betrayal. I thought of the child I'd raised, the boy who used to beg me for one more bedtime story. The boy I walked to school in the rain because we couldn't afford the bus. The boy who once held my hand and said, "I'll protect you when I'm big." That boy was gone. Replaced by a man who now locked me in with dirty socks and detergent like I was a broken appliance collecting dust. At dawn on the third day, the door opened. I squinted into the light, blinking against it. Tyler stood there, chewing a protein bar like nothing happened. "Are you done being difficult?" he asked. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My voice was somewhere deep inside me, hiding. But something else had started to rise in its place, a kind of silence that didn't mean defeat. It meant decision. I stepped out, walked straight past him, and went to my corner of the kitchen, where my lukewarm coffee usually waited. It wasn't there that morning. Lacey had accidentally poured it down the sink. I just nodded. They thought I was weak. They mistook my silence for surrender. But I had spent my whole life doing things the hard way, raising a child alone, paying off debt penny by penny, cleaning other people's houses so he could one day own one. They had no idea who they'd just locked in that room. I finished the laundry that morning, folded every single piece, stacked it high and neat. Tyler passed by and smirked. "See? She learns." "No, Tyler. She plots." The next morning I woke up before the sun. My bones were sore, my ankles stiff from sleeping on hard floors, but something inside me had settled into stillness. Not fear, not grief, strategy. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I watched. Tyler and Lacey treated their home like a castle and me like the servant chained in the basement. But here's what they didn't realize: the servant sees everything. I knew where they kept their private folders. I knew the passwords Tyler carelessly used for nearly every login, the same one he'd used since high school. I knew the name of their tax guy, their laundry service, their daycare account, and the exact date they submitted their mortgage renewal paperwork, which I had helped them organize while they were too busy watching reality TV. Because for 2 years, I wasn't invisible. I was useful. And useful people know things. They thought they'd broken me in that laundry room. What they didn't know was I'd found something in there. A stack of mail Tyler forgot to shred, and in that pile was a red slip from the IRS stamped second notice. That was the crack. Now I just needed the hammer. I went downtown that same week, told them I needed to take a walk to stretch my legs. They didn't care, didn't even look up from their phones. I walked into the county clerk's office with trembling hands and an iron heart. I filed a formal report, not about the abuse, not yet. That would come. I started with what mattered most to them, the finances. I submitted evidence of the unpaid taxes, which Tyler had fraudulently registered under my name as household manager to dodge liability. I gave them dates, documents, account transfers. I told them everything he assumed I'd forgotten. They told me it would take a few weeks. That was fine. I'd waited my whole life to be respected. A few weeks more meant nothing. Then I made the second stop. A local legal aid office. I showed them the bruises on my wrists from the locked door, told them about the 2 days without water, about the slice of moldy bread and the pile of laundry I was forced to fold as punishment. They listened. They took photos. They filed an emergency affidavit under elder mistreatment and unlawful confinement. And just like that, Tyler's castle was marked for collapse. Back at the house, I said nothing. I smiled. I cooked dinner. I folded clothes. I let them believe I was back in line. Until the knock came at the door. 2 officers, a social worker, a clipboard, all standing in my son's driveway with expressions that didn't blink. Lacey answered, scoffing when she saw the badges. "Can I help you?" "Yes," one officer said firmly, eyes scanning the house. "Is Judith Ellison present?" I stepped forward, towel in hand, as if I'd just come from another laundry cycle. I gave them a nod. "Right here." Tyler appeared from behind Lacey, face tightening. "What's going on?" "We're here on a formal complaint," the other officer said. "Unlawful confinement, elder abuse, tax fraud investigation." You could hear the silence hit like thunder. Lacey turned pale. Tyler's mouth opened, but no words came. Just air. Just panic. "I think it's best you come with us, ma'am," the social worker said gently, touching my elbow. I looked at my son one last time. He didn't look like a man anymore. He looked like a boy who just realized his mother stopped being afraid. "I'll be back," I said, "but not to fold your shirts." It took 4 months, 4 long, steady months where I said nothing publicly, posted nothing online, and smiled whenever someone asked how I was. Because I knew what was coming, and I knew it was going to be loud. Tyler and Lacey thought they were safe after I was removed. That's the word they used, removed, like I was trash taken out on schedule. But what they didn't know was that the fire wasn't in the past. It was in progress. The elder abuse case? It stuck. The photos, the testimony, the bruises, the receipts, all of it held up. And when the county investigator pulled their home security footage, that was the nail in the coffin. There I was, locked in the laundry room, barely visible under the frame, and Tyler walking away with the key still in his pocket. That footage sealed everything. But the court case wasn't even the best part. It was the taxes. See, while they played house in that smug little 2-story they couldn't afford, Tyler had quietly shifted some of their debt into my name to keep their credit clean. His mistake? He didn't count on me still being alive to catch it. IRS agents don't like fraud, especially not when it involves identity misuse of a 72-year-old woman with a record of employment going back to the 1970s. They froze their accounts, audited every form from the last 5 years, and reevaluated their mortgage, which was, surprise, co-signed by me. Now it was time. I wore gray that day. Not black, not to mourn, but to watch them do it instead. We were called into a hearing not just for the abuse case, but for the civil restitution over unpaid tax liabilities. They had been summoned to explain why over $68,000 in misfiled household labor expenses were listed under dependent care using my name and why, coincidentally, the dependent was also doing laundry, dishes, cooking, and being locked in a utility room. The courtroom wasn't crowded, just a few people in the back. But that didn't matter. The judge was watching. The attorneys were watching. And Tyler? Tyler was sweating through his shirt like a child who got caught stealing from the church donation plate. Lacey kept trying to whisper in his ear, but he wouldn't even look at her. Not after the judge said, "We have video confirmation, sworn testimony, and evidence of financial exploitation. Unless there's anything you'd like to explain, you'll both be held responsible for restitution and subject to further civil investigation." They didn't respond. What could they say? The judge turned to me. "Mrs. Ellison, is there anything you'd like to request as part of this proceeding?" I stood slowly, spine straighter than it had been in years. I looked at my son, then his wife, then back at the judge. "Yes," I said, calm and even. "I want the court to prohibit either of them from contacting me ever again. No visits, no calls, no access to my medical or financial records. I want them legally classified as strangers." The judge raised an eyebrow. "You're requesting a permanent no-contact order?" "Yes, Your Honor. I've done my time." He nodded. "Granted." The sound of that gavel was the most peaceful sound I'd ever heard. They didn't go to jail that day, but they didn't walk out free either. They walked out stripped of access, of power, of the quiet control they had always clung to like cowards behind a curtain. They lost the house 2 months later. IRS repossessed it. They lost the second car. Gone. Their social circle evaporated when people heard how they treated a 72-year-old woman who paid for their life in blood, sweat, and folded linens. As for me, I moved into a small apartment downtown. Nothing big, but it's mine. The rent is low. The windows are wide. I volunteer at the library twice a week, and nobody raises their voice at me or calls me a burden. I make my own coffee in silence with real cream. I fold my own clothes when I feel like it. And when I don't, I leave them on the chair, because I'm allowed. Because I earned that right. The last thing I did before I left their house, I took one of Tyler's dress shirts from the laundry basket, the one he always liked, pressed a certain way. I folded it sloppily once and stuffed it into a clear plastic bag. Then I sealed it with duct tape. And I mailed it to their new P.O. box. No note. Just a tag on the bag that said, "Hope this reminds you how much you needed me. Now where are the wrinkles?" I don't know if they ever opened it. I don't care. Because in the end, they locked me in a laundry room, but I walked out and washed them from my life. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.